It was the summer of 1942, the darkest year of the war. The Soviet Union was bleeding out on the Eastern Front. Stalingrad was still months away, but Sevastopol was falling. The Germans were racing toward the oil fields of the Caucasus, and every day the Red Army was burning through tanks and planes faster than Britain and America could build them. There was only one way to get the weapons to Russia fast enough: the Arctic route. A 2,000-mile gauntlet of freezing fog, 24-hour daylight, and the ever-present shadow of Nazi-occupied Norway. The convoys were given the codename PQ for outbound, QP for the return journey. By June 1942, the next in line was PQ-17. 35 merchant ships left Iceland on June 27th, American, British, Panamanian, Honduran, and Soviet flags. Old rust buckets and brand-new Liberty ships sailing side by side. On board, 297 tanks, 594 aircraft, already crated, 4,286 trucks and gun carriers, and enough high-octane aviation fuel, explosives, and raw materials to keep an Army Corps fighting for months. The cargo was worth roughly $700 million in 1942 dollars, about $13 billion today. Protecting them was one of the most powerful escort forces ever assembled for an Arctic convoy. 6 heavy cruisers, including the brand-new USS Wichita and HMS London, 12 destroyers, 2 submarines, a close screen of corvettes, minesweepers, armed trawlers, and AA ships, and, for the first time, a fleet oiler so the destroyers could refuel at sea. Far to the southwest, waiting as a distant covering force, was the home fleet under Admiral John Tovey. 2 battleships, HMS Duke of York and USS Washington, the aircraft carrier HMS Victorious, another heavy cruiser, and more destroyers. Their job was simple. If the German battleship Tirpitz came out, the big boys would smash her. Everyone knew Tirpitz was the boogeyman. One hit from her 15-inch guns could sink a cruiser in minutes. Ever since she had mauled convoy PQ-13 and helped annihilate PQ-16, the mere rumor of her sailing was enough to make admirals sweat. But Tirpitz was not the only threat. Luftwaffe bases in northern Norway were packed with Ju-88 bombers and He-111 torpedo planes. U-boats of the Eisteufel group prowled the Danish Strait, and Hitler had just issued a direct order: the next convoy must be wiped out at all costs. Operation Roselsprung, or Knight's Move, was ready. Tirpitz, the pocket battleship Admiral Scheer, the heavy cruiser Admiral Hipper, and 10 destroyers would steam from Trondheim and Altafjord the moment the convoy was too far from British air cover to retreat. The stage was set for the biggest surface battle since Jutland, or for a massacre. Day 1 through 3, the journey begins. PQ-17 sailed into perpetual daylight. The men called it the land of the midnight sun, but there was nothing romantic about it. You couldn't hide. German reconnaissance aircraft shadowed them from the first day. BV-138 flying boats and FW-200 Condors circled overhead like vultures. On July 1st, the first attack came. 25 torpedo bombers. The escorts threw up a wall of fire. Merchant ships zigzagged wildly. 2 ships were damaged, none sunk. The convoy pressed on. July 2nd, more air attacks. A Liberty ship, SS Carleton, took a direct hit and exploded so violently that men on ships 2 miles away were knocked off their feet. Still, 34 ships remained. July 4th, 1942, the day everything went to hell. At 12 noon London time, the British Admiralty received 3 separate pieces of intelligence within hours of each other. 1, Ultra Decrypts, top-secret code-breaking, showed Tirpitz and Hipper had weighed anchor in Trondheim and were moving north to Altafjord. 2, a German reconnaissance aircraft reported the convoy's exact position. 3, photo reconnaissance over Altafjord was impossible because of cloud cover, so nobody knew if Tirpitz had already sailed or was still alongside. In Whitehall, First Sea Lord Sir Dudley Pound was chairing a meeting. Pound was 65, ill with the brain tumor that would kill him a year later, and had been falling asleep in meetings. Present were Rear Admiral Clayton, head of intelligence, and several staff officers. The fear was primal. If Tirpitz got among the merchant ships, the entire convoy would be annihilated, and the heavy covering force was still 400 miles away, too far to intervene in time. At 21:11, 21:23, and 21:36 London time, 3 messages were sent from the Admiralty to the escort commander, Commander Jack Broom, and to Admiral Hamilton on the cruiser flagship. First message, 21:11. Cruiser force withdraw to the westward at high speed. Second message, immediate. Owing to threat from surface ships, the convoy is to disperse and proceed to Russian ports. Third message, most immediate. Convoy is to scatter. That last word, scatter, was a death sentence. In naval terminology, disperse means break formation but stay in groups. Scatter means every ship for herself, immediately, no groups, no mutual support. Commander Broom received the orders on his flagship HMS Keppel. His reaction was later recorded by his signal officer. He read the signals, turned white, and said, "My God, they've sacrificed them." The cruisers turned west at 25 knots and vanished over the horizon, taking every destroyer capable of fighting Tirpitz with them. The convoy was left with only a handful of corvettes, minesweepers, and AA ships armed with 4-inch pop guns. The merchant captains were stunned. Many thought it was a mistake. The American skipper of SS Samuel Chase radioed the flagship, "Please confirm scatter order." The reply came back, "You have your orders." At that moment, the 34 remaining ships turned in 34 different directions and ran for their lives. The Arctic became a killing ground. With no escorts, no formation, and no darkness to hide in, the convoy was naked. The Germans could not believe their luck. Luftwaffe commander Erich Sommer later said, "We thought the Tommies had gone mad. They just scattered. It was like shooting fish in a barrel." Between July 5th and July 10th, 7 U-boats sank 9 ships, 70-plus Ju-88s and He-111s sank 12 more in wave after wave of attacks. Some ships were torpedoed, set on fire, then bombed again until they rolled over. Crews abandoned into 34-degree Fahrenheit water. Life expectancy in a life jacket, 10 to 15 minutes. Only 11 merchant ships out of 35 reached the Soviet Union. Total lost, 24 ships, 153 sailors killed, 430 tanks, 210 aircraft, 3,350 vehicles, and 99,316 tons of cargo, enough to equip an Army Corps fighting for months. The cargo was worth roughly $700 million in 1942 dollars, about $13 billion today. Tirpitz. She sorted from Altaford on July 5th at 11 a.m., sailed for exactly 36 hours, and then turned back without ever sighting the convoy. British reconnaissance aircraft had spotted her, and the Germans, terrified of carrier aircraft and submarines, recalled her. The great battleship never fired a shot in anger. The threat that caused the scattered never materialized. The aftermath and the cover-up. When the truth leaked out, the outrage was volcanic. Winston Churchill called it the most sorrowful episode in the Royal Navy's history. Stalin was apoplectic. He believed the British had deliberately sacrificed the convoy to avoid risking their battleships. Admiral Tovey, the commander of the home fleet, wrote a blistering private letter to the Admiralty. The orders to scatter the convoy were a monstrous error. Commander Broom was removed from command and spent years fighting to clear his name. In 1972, he won a libel suit against author David Irving, who had accused the escorts of cowardice. Sir Dudley Pound suffered a stroke weeks later and died in October 1943. Many historians believe the PQ-17 decision literally killed him. The Arctic convoys were suspended for 3 months. The next one, PQ-18 sailed in September with a full aircraft carrier in close escort and lost only 13 ships out of 40. Why did it happen? Declassified files and ultra-secrets, kept hidden until the 1970s, finally revealed the full picture. Pound overruled his own intelligence staff, who were telling him Tirpitz had not yet sailed. He believed, wrongly, that the Germans had broken British naval codes and would know exactly where the covering force was. He was haunted by the memory of the Battle of Denmark Strait and the loss of HMS Hood. He was not prepared to lose another capital ship. In the end, the Convoy was sacrificed not because Tirpitz was at sea, but because the Admiralty believed she might be.